Hello everybody and welcome to the ESI Digest. I'm Tom Daniels, the sub-editor of Esports Insider, and we're just about to run through the biggest esports business news stories of the week. So it's a mixed bag actually, so it's a really kind of packed week of esports news. So we've got ESI Entertainment acquiring or attempting to acquire KIK Esports Club. We've got VALORANT and PUBG 2021 plans being announced. We've got a new Twitch partnership which could help education into streaming. And then we've also got Wisdom Gaming Group going into League of Legends' Legends of Runeterra in terms of broadcast. So let's start off with ESE Entertainment attempting to acquire the assets and entering into talks of a purchase agreement with KIK Esports Club. In particular, more KIK Esports Club's owner, Pedro Fernandez. As a lot of people already know, KIK has already been integrated into ESE's kind of infrastructure already, basically through like the management and the licensing of its professional teams. However, this agreement now is ESE trying to acquire the intellectual property, and I'm going to put the quote right now is exactly the assets they're acquiring. They will be acquiring all assets relating to and required for the continued operation of KIK. So it's essentially everything else. The fee, which is going to go to Fernandez, is agreed to be around £120,000, give or take, and there'll probably be other benefits which I expect to be along that as well. This, for me, is a step which I expected ESE to take, obviously, after having, managing and licensing the professional teams itself, kind of now fully integrating itself into the fold. ESE have come out with bold words saying that they want to kind of be like the Cloud9s and, the other kind of major esports organizations. KIK itself is a long-running organization as well. I think it was 1998 when they were formed. So they're a very old established Portuguese-based firm, and now it looks like they're trying to transition now into being more of a European kind of entity, a European powerhouse. So I'm unsure on if they will actually ever reach those levels. I hope they do, because obviously the bigger the organizations can be, the better it is for the industry. But it's nice to see that ambition already come through and ESE already commit to saying, well, we've already got the managing and licensing of the professional teams. Let's try and get everything. Let's get the intellectual property as well. And I think that's actually a really smart move in the long run anyway. Now let's talk about the PUBG and the VALORANT 2021 plans that have recently been announced this week. We'll start with the VALORANT first. So Riot Games basically announced the introduction of the VALORANT Champions Tour. Now this is going to be a 3-tiered tournament competition which is going to be annual, and it's probably going to be the esports structure competitively that what they'll hopefully be doing for the next few years at least. Riot have really pushed like esports in VALORANT to great lengths, I would say, because at the end of the day, you kind of look at their other properties. You've got League of Legends, which has obviously got a blossoming esports community, but then you've got Legends of Runeterra, which we will talk about later, and TFT, which they've took more of a slower approach, I think, in terms of integrating esports into those titles. But I think VALORANT came out with the intention of being a game and also being an esport as well. And I think that kind of shows by them having the first strike projects, and then also now having this VALORANT Champions Tour. Now, I'm going to explain a little bit about the VALORANT Champions Tour now. So it's essentially a 3-tiered tournament. It's very similar, I would say, to what you find in traditional shooters like Call of Duty, well, previously with Call of Duty and CSGO, there's like majors, minors, and then the final big kind of tournament at the end. So you've got challengers, which are loads of regional tournaments, which we found out that they will be working with third-party operators as well, kind of what they've similarly been doing with stuff with Nerd Street Gamers and other companies. So it kind of gives regional competitions and chances for teams in different regions to compete. The best of those teams will then go on to the Masters, which there's 3 of them throughout the year. This is the first international tournament, and then the best performing teams out of those 3 Masters combined in terms of points will go to VALORANT Champions. Riot has kind of taken what is a traditional format for shooters, but then also kind of modernized it a little bit and gave it still that kind of Riot Games touch. There's not much more which we know apart from the fact that Secret Labs and Red Bull are sponsors, which is already good. In terms of like monetary value for the organisations and the clubs, we don't know that yet, but I'm pretty sure that will be released in the future as well. Moving on now to PUBG Mobile, and now this is very interesting because this is definitely what I would consider one of the top tier kind of mobile games, which is actually integrating into esports. And it really highlights by them basically showcasing what their 2021 program is. And the main kind of showcase of it is the fact that PUBG Mobile have announced that they're going to put $14 million, which is roughly about £10 million, into prize pools for its esports tournaments in 2021. Now, this is like double, essentially, what they put in this year. They've also announced that PUBG Mobile is going to have new pro leagues. I'm going to say what these are right now. So it's in CIS, Turkey, Western Europe, Arabia, North America, Latin America, and Brazil. This is PUBG's attempt, I think, to take it from a mobile esport and just to make it an esport. I think that they've openly come out that PUBG Mobile could be like tier 1. Whether it can be or not is more to be seen, but the popularity of it is growing, the interest of it is growing, the viewership is growing, and the prize money is growing. They've also announced that they're still going to be doing the traditional 2 split with the World Championships at the end, so they're sticking with a similar format, but the amount of money which is kind of come in, the new leagues which are being announced, it's an interesting time for PUBG Mobile, and it'll be interesting to then see how PUBG itself, the original game, can also kind of lend itself to that. But really, the focus is on PUBG Mobile right now. And out of all the esports mobile titles, in my opinion, this is the one to really look out for. Moving on to a slightly different topic, we at Esports Insider don't really cover streaming news that often, but when it's something kind of as significant as this, then I feel like we do just have to cover it. So Learn to Esports has partnered with Twitch, and what that is actually going to be doing is Learn to Esports, by the way, is like an esports tools, and they basically help educate people about the esports industry through management tools and through lessons. What they've actually done is they've partnered with Twitch for a very similar thing, but it's to educate live streamers on how to basically become streamers, how to properly manage their brands, and basically how to enhance their portfolio in the streaming world. Why I think this is actually really significant is because we've seen these developments in the past. We've seen it with YouTube. We've got YouTube tutorials. We've seen it with esports itself, giving education about esports. And it seems that now streaming is getting to a point where these kind of lessons are also needed to be taught, and are being taught, I think, by a major streaming platform in Twitch as well. It isn't just the fact that it's a esports organization teaching other people. This is a big media conglomerate in Twitch helping educate people to be more aware of brand, of identity, which I also do think in the end will help with the esports industry as well, because if you can get lessons in terms of developing your brand and even with streaming, developing your streaming platform, that could lend itself to esports in the sense of it could help a esports player develop their brand, develop their streaming, which could then make these people more aware of the esports which they compete in. So it's that trickle-down effect. I'm going to hold my judgment on this right now, but we've learned to esports kind of repertoire already in terms of how they've helped the esports industry and helped educate the esports industry. It's a positive sign, at least, for sure. For the final story of the ESI Digest, we're going to be going back to Riot Games, and the publisher has announced that Wisdom Gaming Group will be basically securing the broadcast rights to Legends of Runeterra in North America for its 2021 esports competitions. Now, we kind of talked about previously how Legends of Runeterra and TFT have kind of had a slower transition to esports compared to the likes of Valorant, but this is a step in the right direction. The partnership will officially kick off with a seasonal tournament in December, so not actually in 2021, and it will have a $10,000 grand prize, and then I'm pretty sure that other tournaments will be announced through the year. So it's a pretty exciting time, I would say, for Legends of Runeterra in terms of developing its esports scenes, for Wisdom Giant Gaming in partnering with Riot Games themselves, and for Riot Games in pushing yet another title to develop its esports ecosystem. And that's really all the news, I think, for this week. There's a lot more news which has occurred on the Esports Insider website. We've also had features with the likes of Sergio Aguero and others as well for the Esports Journal. So if you do want to check out the Esports Journal, that'll be very, very good. If you do want to check out the website for more news as well, I appreciate it as well. And yeah, that's been the ESI Digest. So we'll see you next week.